Stop trans-genocide. Out of all the deceitful, repugnant claims coming from the trans movement, this is the most egregious. It is the ultimate appropriation from a movement based upon co-opting terms and definitions, genders, language, historical figures, histories of discrimination, menstrual cycles, and women's sports rights and safe spaces. It's the ultimate misrepresentation from a movement that has not, as of yet, managed to make a single honest nor accurate claim of which I am aware. The operative part of the word is its root, geno, which denotes family, or better yet, race, and transsexuals are anything but. This is demonstrated by the ever-expanding reach of the trans umbrella as it attempts to consume every demographic possible. Additionally, the suffix "side" is defined as the act of killing. The combination of the two means to exterminate an entire race. As defined by the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, the four groups that can even be victims of this crime are religious, ethnic, racial, or national. Not only do the trans appropriators not qualify as members of any of these aforementioned groups, there's not now, nor ever has been, an organized attempt to murder this entire demographic through the mechanized power of the state. Indeed, no effort exists now, nor ever has in this part of the world, to oppress or marginalize the trans community. This so-called victim group exercises more social power than any other group in the Western world. But worse than the deliberate misrepresentation of reality is the appropriation of genuine suffering experienced by cultures that have in actuality faced targeted hate by authoritarian regimes, and the coincident disrespect so blithely cast upon the victims of state-sanctioned mass homicide. Do the trans activists really intend to suggest that the social rejection they may have experienced in the past is in any way similar to the mass graves, summary executions, walled ghettos, cattle car transportations, labor camps, death camps, starvation, gas chambers, medical experimentation, and death marches suffered by the Jews under the Third Reich? Does the trans movement intend to claim that they have endured the state-enforced Holodomor famine, executions for stealing a single grain of wheat, mass graves, enforced marches to Stalin's Gulag archipelago labor camps, and the total liquidation of the Soviet dekulakization? Do they compare their social discomfort to the Assyrian, Armenian, and Greek genocides? Have they suffered the likes of the Great Famine of Mount Lebanon? No event throughout the complete annals of history, and nothing that is currently happening, justifies the claim being made by the statement, "Stop trans-genocide." The only element of genocide facing the trans community is the mass sterilization they have chosen, this voluntary eugenics campaign. Furthermore, this assertion spits in the face of actual victim groups, in the face of tens of millions dead. How might the panicked hordes in the Auschwitz gas chamber, clambering over one another into a pyramid of bodies, feel at this comparison? Or the kulaks, peering over the edge of the mass grave they just finished digging, right before the firing squad unleashes its deadly hail of rifle rounds? But the trans activists see nothing of the historical brutality suffered by actual oppression. They see nothing outside of themselves and their own imaginary systemic marginalization. Like everything else concerning trans activism, from gender to histories of discrimination, they appropriate and co-opt the experiences of others in order to explain the lack of their own, to justify and rationalize their confused origami ideology which crumples under the weight of the simplest questions. But mostly their motivation is to justify to themselves and the world the most naked power grab. The assertion is that their rights supersede all others. that our only response is to grovel before the throne of gender ideology and worship trans activists as the social royalty they purport themselves to be. But what do I know? I'm just some punk who cares.